3 MVPs, 1 decision, and a clubhouse that is now on fire. What Dave Roberts did this week inside the Dodgers spring training facility didn't just stir debate among analysts and fans. It detonated something far more dangerous. It lit a fuse inside the locker room of the most star-studded roster in baseball history. And the 3 men at the center of that explosion are not role players. They are not veterans on the back end of their careers quietly accepting a reduced role. They are Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, 3 MVPs, 3 of the most competitive, driven, and proud players in the modern game. And all 3 of them, according to sources close to the situation, are furious. Not disappointed, not confused, not mildly frustrated. Furious. And when you understand exactly what Roberts did, and more importantly why he did it, you will understand why the Dodgers' 2026 season may already be facing its defining crisis before a single regular season pitch has ever been thrown. Let's set the scene. Spring training in Glendale, Arizona. The Dodgers are preparing for what should be the most dominant run in recent baseball history. On paper, this roster has no weaknesses. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow anchor a rotation that opposing lineups genuinely fear. The bullpen has been fortified. The depth throughout the lineup is unmatched across the entire league. And at the top of that lineup, a trio that sent chills through every pitching staff in baseball last season. Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. 3 names that opposing managers dreaded seeing together at the top of a lineup card. 3 players who fed off each other's energy, who understood each other's rhythms, and who collectively made the Dodgers the most feared offensive unit in the sport. That structure worked. It delivered a World Series championship. It was proven, battle-tested, and respected by everyone in the game. And then Dave Roberts decided to blow it up. The details of what Roberts proposed in an internal team meeting sent shockwaves through the Dodgers clubhouse the moment they became known. Under the newly restructured batting order Roberts is considering, Kyle Tucker would slide into the leadoff spot. Ohtani would drop to second. Betts would hit third. Freeman would remain in the cleanup position. On the surface, if you look at it purely through an analytical lens, you can construct an argument for why this makes tactical sense. Tucker posted elite on-base numbers last season. His discipline in early counts, his ability to work pitchers deep into at-bats, and his consistent contact approach make him a legitimate option at the top of an order. An analyst might tell you that moving Ohtani to the 2-hole actually puts him in more high-leverage situations with a runner already on base, which theoretically maximizes his devastating power. That is the argument Roberts made internally. And from a whiteboard perspective, it is not a crazy argument. But baseball is not played on a whiteboard. And what happened next inside that clubhouse proved exactly that. Ohtani's reaction was immediate. And it was not subtle. Sources say the superstar made his feelings known in a way that left absolutely no room for misinterpretation. For Ohtani, the leadoff position is not simply a spot in a lineup. It is a philosophy. It is the foundation of how he approaches an entire game from the first pitch to the last out. He reportedly told teammates directly, "When I lead off, I control everything. I walk to that plate before anyone else has touched it. If I put the ball in the gap, if I put it over the fence, if I work a walk, I have already changed the entire psychology of that game before the pitcher has even settled into his rhythm. That is not just an at-bat. That is a weapon. And you don't voluntarily give up a weapon like that." Those words hit hard, because everyone in that room understood exactly what he meant. There is something that happens when Shohei Ohtani steps into the batter's box in the first inning with nobody on and nobody out. Opposing pitchers feel it. Opposing managers feel it. The entire stadium feels it. There is a weight to that moment that cannot be manufactured or replicated by simply rearranging numbers on a lineup card. An MLB analyst who has studied Ohtani extensively said it plainly. Shohei hitting leadoff is a psychological event, not just a tactical one. The moment he walks to that plate to open a game, the pressure on the opposing pitcher is already extreme. You move him out of that spot and you lose something that no statistic can fully capture. But if Ohtani's reaction was forceful, Mookie Betts' response was equally significant, and in some ways even more telling. Betts is not a player who raises his voice. He is not a player who publicly challenges his manager or makes a scene in front of the roster. He is respected throughout this organization precisely because of his professionalism, his maturity, and his ability to lead without demanding attention. Which is exactly why what he said in the wake of Roberts' announcement landed with such impact. Sources say Betts gathered several teammates after the meeting and spoke with quiet but unmistakable intensity. He said, "We spent 2 full seasons learning each other, learning the rhythms, learning when to be aggressive, when to lay off, when to make a pitcher pay for missing location. That knowledge, that trust between the 3 of us at the top of this lineup, that took time to build. You don't just discard that. You don't throw away something that won a championship because a spreadsheet says something different looks better." That comment cut right to the heart of the conflict inside the Dodgers clubhouse. Because Betts wasn't just pushing back on a lineup decision. He was pushing back on a philosophy. He was making the argument that the human element of baseball, the chemistry, the cohesion, the deeply personal understanding that elite players develop through years of competing alongside each other, is not something that shows up in an analytical model. And he was right. And then there is Freddie Freeman. Freeman's response to Roberts' announcement was perhaps the most unexpected of all 3. Because Freeman, more than any player on this roster, has built his entire identity around being the calm, steady, unshakable presence in the middle of the Dodgers order. He does not panic. He does not overreact. He does not let outside noise affect what he does between the lines. But sources say what Roberts proposed genuinely rattled him. Not because of his own position in the lineup, Freeman stays in the cleanup spot under the new structure, but because of what the decision signals about the organization's relationship with its core players. Freeman reportedly said in a private conversation, "When an organization wins a championship and then immediately starts questioning everything that made that championship possible, that tells you something. That tells you about the trust, or the lack of it, between the people making decisions and the people executing them on the field. We earned the right to have our voices heard. We earned that by winning." That word, earned, it carries enormous weight when it comes from Freddie Freeman. Because Freeman is right. These 3 players did not arrive in Los Angeles asking for special treatment. They arrived, they competed, they performed under the highest possible pressure, and they delivered the ultimate prize. The expectation that their input would be valued in decisions that directly affect their roles is not entitlement. It is the natural and appropriate dynamic of a championship organization. So where does this leave Dave Roberts? The Dodgers manager is now navigating one of the most delicate situations of his entire managerial career. On one side, he has a genuine tactical argument for restructuring the lineup. On the other side, he has 3 of the best players on the planet pushing back with equal force and equal conviction. Roberts publicly maintained his position during a media session this week. He said, "I have tremendous respect for every player in this clubhouse. These conversations are part of building the best possible team. Nothing is finalized. Spring training is designed for exactly this kind of evaluation." Those words were carefully chosen, diplomatic, measured. But sources say privately, Roberts is under significant pressure from within the organization. The front office wants to see how this plays out. They believe Tucker's addition gives them lineup flexibility they didn't have before. They believe the analytical case for reshuffling the order is legitimate. But they also know something that no spreadsheet can quantify. You do not win championships with a divided clubhouse. You do not win championships when your 3 best defensive players are simmering with resentment over decisions that feel like a rejection of everything they built together. You do not win in October when the trust between a manager and his stars has been fractured in February. One veteran baseball executive, speaking without attribution, said it with devastating clarity. Dave Roberts has managed this team to a World Series title. He has earned enormous credibility. But right now, he is standing at the most dangerous crossroads of his managerial career. If he pushes this through and it works, he's a genius. If he pushes this through and it fractures that clubhouse, no amount of regular season wins will fix what breaks. There is a deeper question underneath all of this that the Dodgers cannot afford to ignore. What is a championship team actually built on? Is it built on constant innovation? On the willingness to challenge assumptions, restructure systems, and optimize every variable based on the most current available data? Is it built on the belief that no structure, no matter how successful, should ever become too comfortable to question? Or is it built on identity, on the understanding that certain combinations of players develop a shared language, a shared rhythm, a shared confidence in each other that is worth far more than any marginal tactical gain? Is it built on the respect that a winning organization owes to the players who delivered its greatest moments? The Dodgers are being forced to answer that question right now, in real time, with the entire baseball world watching. Ohtani is angry. Freeman is unsettled. Betts is pushing back with everything he has. And Dave Roberts is standing in the middle of it all, holding a lineup card that could either be the smartest decision he has ever made or the one that unravels the most talented roster in baseball. The 2026 season hasn't officially started yet. But make no mistake, the battle for the soul of the Los Angeles Dodgers is already underway. 3 MVPs walked into spring training expecting to defend a championship together, in the same structure, with the same trust, with the same identity that carried them to the top of the baseball world. Instead, they walked into a shakeup that none of them asked for, none of them agreed with, and none of them are willing to accept quietly. What happens next inside that clubhouse will define everything that follows. The lineup card is just a piece of paper, but right now it feels like a lit match inside a room full of gasoline. And the entire MLB world is holding its breath to see what happens next.